It's 7 o'clock and I'm going to start. Hi, folks. I'm Nancy. I'm your illustrious program manager. I am delighted to introduce Chris Roeder, who is the president of the National Association of Treiball Enthusiasts. She started in Treiball back in 2014 in the World Treiball League with a border collie that had been injured or retired from agility due to injury. And she really liked the sport because it was a great workout for a dog's brain as well as physically. And there was not a lot of money required to get the equipment. So she started competing in NATE back in 2016. She joined the board in 2018. So she was really clearly very motivated. She was secretary, she's been president, and she's been a judge for both video titling and live trials. She's developed multiple new NATE games, and her dogs are very highly ranked in the sport. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to turn it over to Chris. And I thank you again for taking the time to discuss this delightful sport for us. I'm very excited to hear more.
Well, thank you, Nancy. That was very nice. And I'm going to warn you right now, my internet dropped just for a moment while you were introducing. So I'm just going to be aware of that. You might have to tap on me if I may not know if my internet drops suddenly. Okay. So we're going to get started. As Nancy said, I've had several years in Treiball and quite a few with NATE. And my goals for today are to, one, just introduce you to what the sport is and what NATE has to play in that game, and how to play in title, some of the beginner skills, and then maybe some resources to help you get started. And hopefully we'll have time at the end. If folks would like to ask questions, we'll have openings to do that. So what is Treiball? Treiball is basically a fun mental and physical workout for your dog. It is good for any size and any breed of dog. It is often thought of as something for herding dogs, but I can tell you that's just a matter of how you look at it. If you think of it from a retriever standpoint, the retrievers are retrieving balls. But I have had many different breeds play in my classes and through the videos I've seen. It really is a fun game for any type of dog. It is the type of thing we have titling and trialing options that we can do. And currently, NATE, the National Association of Treiball Enthusiasts, is the only titling organization that's active. So I am going to, all of the talk that I'm going to give right now is going to be geared at the NATE game or the NATE games. So Treiball, what is it? It's a game that involves a field. It has balls on it, and it is a field that looks very similar maybe to a soccer field. It's typically 50 by 70. Novices will play on a field that's more closer to 35 by 50. It has a soccer-like goal, as you see down on the bottom of the picture. And then it has a handler area in front, which on that picture is the yellow tape on the ground with the orange cones on the corner. And balls that are appropriately sized for the dog. Each game has specific objectives that have to be completed within a set time. And during the game, the handler can only be in that goal area or the handler area that's outlined with that yellow box. That's the only places the handler can stand. The dog does all the work out on the field. It is often considered, it's called a cross between billiards and soccer. And as you look, you can kind of see the similarities for both of them. In competition, the fastest clean run places first in any class. And for titling, it is a matter of you accomplish the goals of the game and the level within the allotted time, and you'll receive a qualifying status. 3 qualifying runs will get the title for that level. What we're looking at right now is the standard game, which is the most basic game that we have. It requires retrieving all the balls from the formation and into the goal. And the point ball must be the first ball in the goal. And so if you see, like from the drawing, the point ball is the one that's on the point of the triangle. In the picture, it's the light green one at the point. The picture is actually an intermediate level. It has 6 balls, and the novice would have 3 balls. But they have to bring in the point ball first, and then the rest of the balls in the formation can come in any order. Novice has 3 balls that are 25 feet from the goal. I'm gonna flip to the next screen, and this is the part where I hope it works and it plays for everybody. This is a short video just of a standard game, the novice. Nice. And so that was 4 or 5 years ago, my at that time novice border collie. And the times for that run would have started the moment he stepped out of the handler box, and it stopped when he lied down in the handler box goal. So that was just a real quick game. And in the novice level, he has 2 minutes to get that done, which clearly he did. He made that. In Nate, we have 6 games, 6 titling games. We have the standard game, which you just saw a novice run of. We have balls in order, snooker, team, pairs, and urban herding. Within each game, there are 4 levels: novice, intermediate, advanced, and expert. And for each game, no matter where you are in say standard, you always start every game at the novice and build your way up to the expert. As they go in difficulty, in general, to move from novice to expert, they add more balls and there's more distance. So novice standard is 3 balls that starts with the point ball at 25 feet. When you get up to expert, you're talking about 8 balls and the point ball is 50 feet away from the goal. So the skills go up with each one. If we step forward here, look at some of the other games that we have. This is balls in order, which the novice level has 4 balls. They're now in a diamond shape. And in this game, all the balls have to come in the order that they're required. So the point ball still comes in first. If you're at a trial, the judge would tell you the order of the other 3. If you're doing video titling, you get to announce before you start the order of the balls. So in this one, the purple would be first, and then the handler could announce that they were going to do the white, the blue, and then the green. And then the balls have to come in that order. They get so many times that they can have an incorrect ball. If a ball comes in incorrectly, they have to roll it back out on the field. And like I say, this is the same thing. At novice, it's 4 balls at 25 feet. When we get to expert, it's 9 balls in a diamond, and they're out at 50 feet. So it definitely steps up in difficulty. We have a snooker game, very much like snooker billiards or the snooker agility game. It's a point accumulation game. So instead of trying to get all the balls in a time frame, you're trying to get as many points as possible. So like snooker, you have to get a red ball and then one of the balls on the side that's worth a point, and you flip back and forth until the ending sequence where you have to get a red ball and then 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's all about getting the highest number of points within the set time frame. One of the games we have is urban herding. This is one that perhaps people could definitely say, you know, hey, we called it urban herding. Definitely has appeals to the urban or to the herding dogs. This one, we don't have a starting formation, a cluster of balls. We add fences and pens and gates to the field. And the goal is much more, they have to get them out of pens. They have to bring the balls through gates. And this is the first time the dog will have to actually drive the ball away from the handler and put it out in a pen. So this is definitely, even from the novice level, it gets to be for the more advanced dogs. And then we also have team and pair. Team is where we have one handler with 2 of their dogs. working. They have 2 formations. They have to work both dogs alternating. And we have pairs, 2 handlers, each with their own dog. Again, 2 formations, and they both have to work their own formation. So we've got a variety of games to keep things fun for people. Within each of the levels, we also have class heights. Class heights are so we size the ball to the dog. We don't really want a large Great Dane trying to play down with these mini-sized balls. We want the balls sized appropriate for the dog. And so it's based on the dog's measurement at the withers. And then you can see in the picture, that's the assortment of ball sizes that we have. The small through the extra large, those are all your standard yoga exercise balls. They're not weighted, they're not stabilized in any way. They're just the standard balls. The extra the extra small and the minis, those are the children's lightweight vinyl balls, the ones you get at Walmart out of the bin, not heavy playground kickball type things. They're lightweight. And the majority of this is to make sure that we are keeping things safe for the dogs. If we have dogs trying to push balls that are too small, when they're excited, they have a tendency to run over the balls, which can lead to injury. And we really don't want the little dogs pushing great big balls where they can't see. It's really more weight than I want my dog pushing on a routine basis. So we do size the balls to the dogs. So how do we get started with this? Well, we have some foundation behaviors that we like to recommend. They're not requirements. Certainly we can start someone if they don't have these, but first thing is that they have at least one positional cue, a sit or stand or a down, and it has a little bit of a duration to it so that they understand the cue. Really only need one, more or better, but one's good. We want some form of recall so that when your dog's on the field and things aren't going well, you can recall them and they will come into you. We've found there's certainly a correlation that if they can walk nicely, we're not talking about formal heel, but if they can walk nicely with the handler, usually it's a predictor that things are going to go better. We very much like for them to have a mat cue, a go to mat cue. A lot of the training works well if you can use mats to help teach them locations and where you want them to be. And again, of course, this goes with virtually every dog sport. If you have some form of a focus, eye contact, that they are willing to give you that focus and that eye contact when they're working. But with the foundations, we have identified 3 skills that we think are really important. And with that, we developed 3 levels and created skill certifications. And the certifications are to help people who are stepping their way along, working their way toward that time when they're ready to compete at the novice level, but they're not there. And we want them to feel like, it's a way to tick mark and know that, hey, you are making progress. And those 3 skills are ascend, ability to send your dog out to a location, to push, to be able to push a ball to you, and then directional cues, to be able to move your dog on the field, left and right, circular, clockwise, counterclockwise. And like I say, there's 3 levels with each of those. For the send, the certification is to be able to send your dog. The levels are 1, 2, and 3, 10, 20, and 30 feet. And as you can see by the little dog there, I was able to send him, and that was a 10-foot send. Sent him out, and he sat behind the bucket. So the test is no more than to be able to send the dog out and have them sit behind an object. We have the push, same thing, level 1, 2, and 3, 15, 25, and 35 feet. And this, we don't send the dog for this test. You place the dog, you walk to the handler area, and then you have them push that distance. And again, those are the 3 distances for that. And then we have directional cues. When the dog's out on the field and you need them to move to a different location, you want some form of cueing that tells them to move. You can think of it as to left to right, clockwise, counterclockwise. And so we've devised 3 tests to basically see if they can do that. You send them out from the handler area and they sit behind a bucket, And then depending on the level test, you move them behind a different bucket and maybe even behind a third bucket before calling them back in. And so all of those are meant to train your dog how to respond to whatever your directional cues are going to be. Once you have, if you can pass all three of those tests at all three of those levels, you are well on your way, ready to combine the skills to move up to the next step, which is putting it together. And one way that might be, and I realized the last minute I left out one of the pictures, you send the dog behind a bucket and they understand that location. I would then convert that to a ball so that they can send behind a single ball. And then I might build that up to 3 buckets. Same thing, got mats. Then I'm going to replace the point ball bucket. I'm going to replace that with the ball, replacing that. Then I'm going to go to 3. In all of those scenarios, my dog still has not pushed the ball with that formation. They're just practicing learning what that location is. Once they've got that location, then I'll put the push into it so that they can start learning, okay, I go to a location with 3 balls and I push it in. So that's one way to bring them together. There are plenty of other ways to bring those skills together, but this is one way to do it. And we have found if you've got those 3 skills, you will very quickly move into being able to do the novice level standard and probably even the novice B&O game to quite successfully. So that is just kind of what I call a quick rundown of what the sport is and how you might break it out, how you might train it. With our website on the nationaltreibball.com, we have all the info that you need for any of the titling, for the skills certification, and we're building out, soon to release fully, a whole section on training and how you can train up through the skills certification to give you more information. Finzi has a very nice class that Melissa Bro teaches on starting that. So there's a lot of ways to get started. We have on our website, we have trainers that are certainly willing to work with you if you don't have somebody close at hand where you can go to the classes. But that's the common ways. People either start just working on their skills certs and building their skills. They might work with a trainer, or they might take like the Finzi class to do that. So that's kind of the nutshell, who we are, how you play the game. And with that, I'm going to take this show off and hand this back over. We can, if we'd like to, if anybody would like to ask questions.
So when you were playing that video, I was really struck by how happy the dog looked.
Yes.
It looked just so happy.
Yes.
Like, this is the best thing ever.
Yes. And that was when he was a novice and he was running short distances. If there is one thing that I see over and over with any of these dogs is how much fun. Well, I'll be the first to admit, when I tell you, if I just tell you about this game, it doesn't really sound fun. And it's like, oh, this is a lot of work. But because one, it's all trained with really positive reinforcement style training. It really, every dog I've had just ends up having a ton of fun, and they're so excited. It's just fun to watch them play, and even when we advance to the harder games, and you can tell they're mentally exhausted, but they're having a blast, pushing the balls, listening to directions. It's been really interesting. One of the things I see with dogs who work, it's everything crosses over. The dogs that are working with Treiball, as they're crossing over into agility, one of the things we'll see is they have incredible sends to obstacles, because we've built up that sending 35 feet is totally normal at the novice level, let alone when they're playing the higher levels and it's easily 50, 75 feet. So they're having a great time. It's just fun to watch them.
So folks, now's the opportunity, you have the opportunity to ask any questions that you might want, so chime in.
This is Dory. I have two questions.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much, Chris and Nancy, for this presentation. I had heard about this sport a couple of years ago, but never pursued it. So this is very interesting, and thank you for taking the time, Chris. You had mentioned early on, and I don't remember which game it was, that you toss the ball back out if the dog brings back the wrong colored ball. Now, is that the handler that tosses the ball, or does the handler tell the dog, sorry, push that ball back out into the field?
The handler will send that ball back out.
Okay.
And you know, if it's the handler makes the call, or the judge will make the call if it's a trial to say, you know, hey, that's a wrong ball. Okay. The handler rolls the ball back out. And in fact, I've got the picture back up. If you look over on the far side, this cone here for that level, the ball has to go back that far. If it doesn't go by that far, they haven't rolled it back far enough. So they do have to get the ball far enough back out on the field.
Okay, so it has to go at least that far. At
least that far. And of course, as the levels go up, and I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a novice level. The expert level is roughly about there for the point ball. And like I say, it's got 9 balls.
Yeah.
The rollback cone for expert is this cone here. Okay. So there's a lot of reasons by the expert to not get wrong balls, because for one, you have to really roll it back pretty far. Yeah. And that's where, you know, you can get through novice without having directionals. That's the honest truth, because you just have to get the point ball, and after that, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Any of the balls in. Mm-hmm. But if you want to play any of the other games, you've got to have the directionals. Yeah. And again, you can get through novice balls in order without a lot of directional cues, because usually the balls break up and it's practically a straight send to the ball you need. Mm-hmm. Once you get to intermediate with 6 and advanced that has 8, there's a lot of balls and you've got to be able to move them on that field. Mm-hmm. And it sounds so stressful, but you put so much work into teaching them the directionals, and it's funny how quickly they pick up when you're going to move them. It's like, oh, you don't want this ball to move. And you have to watch them. They'll just start, okay, new ball. I picked a new ball. It's like, no, you're supposed to listen to me. but it's still fun.
Mm-hmm. I trained my rider. She knows I can give her on walks a command right or a command left, and she knows which way to go, because I had intended to do drafting and karting with her, but for a number of reasons that didn't work out. So that's interesting. And did I hear you say that there is a virtual component to this sport?
Yes.
I heard that.
Yes,
correctly.
indeed. And in fact, with Nate, our virtual and our live trial cues all intermix 100%. So you can video and get cues and titles that way, if there's not trialing in your area. But you can also, like where I am, we have trials, and so people can get their cues through the trial and through the virtual titling, and they all intermix. For a title, you can have some that are virtual and some that are live trial, and
that's
it all comes the same.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's we have, I believe this past year, Nate, it is a new year now. In 2023, we put out over 200 titles, and a high percentage were virtual titles. So it's the way to do it if you don't have the trial handy.
I think that's a very smart approach, frankly.
So I have a couple of other questions that popped up in the chat. James asked, is that artificial turf?
Where this picture is, yes, this is artificial turf. It, in fact, is not the artificial turf that's there anymore. We have a new turf there. This particular picture is in Beech Grove Positive Partners in south side of Indianapolis. We have people, honestly, you can play on any surface that gives your dog the traction they need. You saw the one video was in my backyard, where I had the little dogs behind cones, the little minis. That was on a dirt in a barn. We have people that play on all kinds of surfaces. Frankly, when I was in the World Treiball League, I played outside in the snow and ice, and we had a great time.
James also asked, where are you?
I am in I'm Greenwood, just south of Indianapolis.
And Marguerite missed the intro that you gave, so she asked, do lots of breeds do this or just herding breeds?
You betcha, a lot of breeds. I no longer have the count of how many different breeds have titled through this. I can tell you it's a very broad spectrum. And of course, plenty of mixed breeds. But I mean, that's a Sammy in the picture that's up on the screen right now. I had one woman sent me a video, and one of her students, a 98-year-old woman with her walker, and she was playing with her long-haired dachshund. So when people's like, oh, it's just herding dogs, I'm like, well, that little dachshund was wild after it. I've had bulldogs playing it. I've seen all sorts of terriers playing it. I know Kyla Smay is playing with her sight hounds. I can't, it just, you name it, the breeds are playing it. I have a whole class of golden retrievers, and they love it. Of course, golden retrievers love everything, but they're the happiest golden retrievers. They just don't get to carry the balls. They just push the balls. But they're happy playing this game. So yeah, it really is.
So
virtually any breed.
Another person asked, are there any trainers in New York State? And let's make that more generic and make that a question as to how can people find trainers?
So on our website, on the nationaltreibball.com, on the website, we do have a trainer locator. And for that matter, even if you go on our Facebook page, you can also post asking for it. We have trainers in a lot of places. I know there's more than one group in Canada. We've got Pennsylvania. I know we have some players in New York. I don't know that any of them necessarily call themselves trainers. I'm certain from what they're doing, they could be. But I know we have some in New York. I know we have them in Pennsylvania, New Jersey. We've got them in the Carolinas, Virginia, the Midwest. I know we've got Chicago, of course, around Indianapolis, Kentucky, West Coast. I know we've got California. Not California's big. We've got them in Portland, Oregon, Seattle. We've got them in a lot of places where we've got training. I know we've got a couple coming up in Texas. So we've got people who are actually out there who are, I don't want to say certified, but they are trainers. They offer classes, they offer lessons. There are some on the trainer list that also are willing to do virtual training to help people out. There's a lot of options out there. And we have a lot of people who are doing this on their own too. So
the next question was an adjunct to that one, which is, are there any trainers or any classes, in my area, Central New York? So Phyllis, take a look at the website and see if anybody's posted there. And it sounds like there are a lot of great resources that you can find virtually.
Yes.
You are motivated to train virtually.
Yes. And I can tell you, all the instructors that are listed on the website, even if they don't offer virtual lessons, they're more than willing to help you out, to give you some pointers. If you join Nate, we have a whole backlog of clubhouse chats where we've talked about a variety of topics, including training methods and ways to achieve things. It just, we're a smaller group, and so we do like to talk about it, talk about ideas, what's going on, how can we help? So it's a pretty open group.
Are the rules posted on your website, or is there a
Yes.
book that people have to purchase?
No, it is full. That is, everyone has access to the rules. It's an open book. It's no secrets. And on our website, we also have. We're still building some of them. We have all kinds of examples from video titling of the skills certificates. I know we have a lot of examples of the standard and balls in order. I think we are also in the process right now of building a new website. So we've kind of stalled doing anything more with our current one because we have a web designer who's building us a new one. So kind of like, okay, well, how much do we want to put? How much effort are we putting into the old one? We've got this new one coming up, and then we'll have examples of all the other games. So, but yeah, we're more than happy. And for that matter, if you wanted to see some, if you don't find video examples up, we could certainly get you some samples. Just contact Competition Services, and we'll find something for you so you can actually see it.
So this is what's your favorite aspect of this sport?
Oh, wow.
That's a person. I'm interested in hearing that. If you had to pick one thing as to why you love the sport, what would that be?
It is how much fun the dogs are having. And one of the things is, I can't help but to love is the handler is trapped in that box. So honestly, in agility, you get to run by your dog, but it really you really have to support the dog and their learning, and they have to be solid. You have to be consistent. And I think that's part of the reason the dogs have so much fun, is because they end up so very well trained. I would have loved to, it would have been much longer to show you a video of my current older border collie playing at the expert level, where he is screaming fast, and not just because he's just a wild border collie. He is flying out there and screaming as he brings those balls in. He's having a blast. And even when I stop him and have him change balls, he's having a great time. And it's just a teamwork. You're out there, you move. There's nothing feels better than when you've got your dog out there and it's all going well. They're listening to your cues, they're moving, and it just goes so fast and it's so fun. That's just the best part, is everybody having fun.
What are the dimensions of the handler area? Are they the same for each game, with the exception of urban herding?
Yes, the goal and the handler area are always the same. So the goal is always 5 by 15, and the handler area is always 5 by 25, centered on the goal. So that element remains the same. Even if, like for novice, we can play on a smaller field, and it's only novice. And we do have concessions for the veterans and for the extra smalls and minis. They get shorter distances, they get a little more time, and they get to play on a smaller field. But everything beyond that is going to be a 50 by 75 field. We also, for video titling, have what we call a field modification request. So that'll come in. You don't have an indoor facility. You have an open field that doesn't have a fence. We have ways to deal with that. You have a facility that you can't have 75 feet. You've only got 65. You've only got 60. We have ways to modify the rules. So again, you can still play and you can still title. We make modifications for dogs that maybe have an injury. In particular, the Sammy that's right there in that picture, the Sammy now has an injury and has extreme trouble going into she can go into a sit or a down, but then she cannot easily get up. The handler has to actually help her pick up. What she can do is a bow. So instead of a down at the end of the game, this dog has a modification that they give a bow at the end of the game. We try very hard to work to make sure that this game works well for older dogs who might have physical issues. We want anybody to be able to play.
What is the new website? I did take a beginner course in Fenzi in 2020 during COVID. My GSD loved it. But when in-person classes became available, we ended up doing other sports. I would have continued with the sport if there had been classes in my area to attend. I think it's a great sport.
Thank you. So the website has not changed. In fact, it is still the same site, nationaltreibball.com. When the new site is completed, we will just have a transition day. It will move over and hopefully be seamless, and you will not know other than it will suddenly look bright and beautiful and have more capabilities.
Cool. Any other questions, folks?
Yes, one final question for me. This is Dory. What about membership? Could you talk about membership, Chris?
Yes. Membership is for the person, it's $25 a year. We do have charter members still that are it hasn't closed down. So for $100, you can have a lifetime charter membership. Dog registration is $25 per dog, and that is lifetime. Once the dog is registered, they are it's a one-time deal for the dog. So so for the human, it's $25 per year unless you go with the charter.
Any other questions, gang? The issue that I have, Chris, is that there are so many fun sports out there and so little time. Ugh. So
Yes.
here's a question for you, because my male Akita, who is going to, I can't believe it, he's going to be 9 in April. He's deaf. So do you have any deaf dogs running in this?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, it's possible to modify a few things. We certainly had a Sheltie who came through in my classes who was born deaf, and we just modified a few things to make sure the dog, you know, when the dog ran out behind a ball, it always turned and looked to its handler for its cue, whether that was right, thumbs up, or whether it needed to move, and it played beautifully. We've got one, and I think we've got another. They have gone deaf, so they've been playing the sport, but now they've gone deaf, and now the handler is transitioning to all hand signal cues. So yeah, it's definitely may not look good, but it's easy to integrate that for the dog once they get behind a ball to check in and basically ask the question, is this what you want? And it works great. No problem.
My boy is congenitally deaf, and actually I have a puppy, and I find myself not talking to her because I've never trained a hearing dog. My previous 2 Akitas were both congenitally deaf, and I don't know how to use words with dogs.
Well, it is possible to play this game entirely silent.
Well,
what I found really interesting and kind of fun is when the deaf dog would play, everybody in the class or at the trial they would all get quiet and silent, like they were going to bother the deaf dog. And I always found that funny. It's like they'd be making so much noise when everybody else was running, and then it would be and everybody quiet. Oh, I'm like, guys, the dog can't hear you.
Yeah, I know. There are some real benefits to having a deaf dog. Well, there's a new game for you, Chris. Silent.
There we go. There we go.
You did say Canada. Is there information, international component to Nate?
So yes, we have people. You can join from anywhere. We really do not care. where you are when you join. I know there are 2 groups, and if you ask me, I cannot tell you right now, but I know we have 2 separate groups in Canada, quite far apart, that are, and they are groups that are working and training together, titling together. So they're definitely there. I know we have at least 1 or 2 people in Great Britain. We've had several in Australia, 5 or 6, and like, Australia is also very large. They are actually quite far spaced apart, so none of them are playing together. But yeah, we've got people from all over playing the game.
Well, a friend of mine moved to New Zealand, and I told her that we were going to be doing this presentation and that it would be videotaped. And she said, "Oh, do send me the link." So
Yes,
might end up being in New Zealand too.
that'd be great. That would be great. We
Yeah, go ahead.
The one
Sorry.
thing is, the organization, no matter whether it's a live trial or video titling, because we do mix them, Nate awards all of the titles and the title ribbons, and we mail them wherever they need to go. So I have to say, we have some pretty large, nice ribbons, and we ship them wherever they need to go. So you title, you're in Canada, we'll ship you that title ribbon.
Cool. Becky got on late. I know she had a commitment with another class. She asked what the field size is.
So this field size that's on the screen right now, that is a 50 by 75. So that is the largest that we play on.
And what's the smallest?
The smallest is
You did mention
30.
that you do make a cover.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I have a picture up of it. It is a 35 by 50. So I think, yeah, you don't see the whole field. This one here, this is actually a 35 by 50. So you can see the sides are a lot closer to the goal. But it's harder to see it on this example. But that's the 2 primary sizes: 35 by 50, 75.
How many cues to qualify at each level?
3 cues at each level, and so from novice, for each one of those, once you get your expert, well, at any level, you could also go for an outstanding title, and that is that's another 10 cues at that level. So you can get an outstanding novice.
I'm
right,
sorry.
you can get an outstanding novice, outstanding expert, and you don't have to build on those. Like I did not. I went through and I got all the regular titles through expert, and then I got the outstanding once I got to expert. So you can continue to play is the idea. And we also have champion titles. So you start getting outstanding in several games. You can get a champion, a versatility champion.
So you said 10 additional cues or a total
Right.
of 10 cues?
Yeah, a total of 13. So you get 3. So for standard novice, you could get 3 cues just to get the standard novice. And if you want, you might want to do that. You might say, wow, we're not ready for intermediate yet, especially if you're trialing. So you want to keep going to the trials, but you're not really ready for intermediate. So you continue to play in the standard novice level. You get another 10 cues, you have an outstanding standard novice.
Got it.
But the outstanding titles are not required to move up the levels.
Yeah, the dog training club, Ithaca Dog Training Club has a mall space up at the local mall, and Becky comments, "Ooh, 35 by 50, we could play at the mall."
You've got it.
You just need all those various size balls. Could you flip to the ball page again, the picture,
Yes, let's.
please?
Nope. Nope, gotta go the right way. There we go. And again, you only need the balls for whomever's playing.
Right.
So I've only had 2 dogs that needed the mini. way down here, the little one, 7-incher. One was a mini poodle. I have only had one dog who needed the extra large, and that was a very large, it's a very large German Shepherd. The rest have been in the middle here. For the most part, most of the dogs are mediums and smalls with some extra smalls. That's the most common sizes.
Any other questions, folks? Give people another few seconds to think about questions that they might have or comments they might have.
Well, and one of the things, if you do come up with more questions on the website, there's an email, info@nationaltreibball.com. It's the contact us. Open season. You've got questions, pop them in there. We answer those questions pretty quick.
Yeah, when I reached out to you to speak, I was very pleased at how quickly you responded.
We're always willing to help.
Okay, rules of the sport are well thought out and make sense. Becky, there's information about trainers and virtual training, because I believe virtual training would be the option for the Ithaca area. Trainers would be listed on the website. And it really seems like there are a lot of resources to support the virtual efforts on your website, which I'm quite appreciative of.
And one of the things you can do too is if we can't give out member names per se. I mean, once you're a member, you can search to see if there are other members, or you can ask, within we have a private group for the members. Hey, is anybody else playing in New York? And see what kind of responses. We can let you know, hey, we know there are some more people, and ask to see, we can work to see if we can get you guys connected up if everybody's willing to trade, because that certainly does come up. Boy, I'd love if there would be more people around me. And if we ask around, we're like, oh, and we have some more around you. So we can try to connect you.
Terrific. Anyone else, or are we able to let Chris off the hook and let her go on with her Tuesday evening? Now's the time, folks. It was really a very informative and fun presentation, and I'm quite interested in pursuing this. Like I said, so many dog sports, so little time. How do you make up your mind what you want to do with your dog?
Oh, I understand. Thank you. And thank you for having, the website is nationaltreibball.com. And thank you for having, we're always glad to help people. We're always working to build this. So
super.
We can help you. We'd love to do it.
Super. I really appreciate your taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk about this. And I know this has generated a lot of interest. And I know that the video will also generate a lot of interest. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you.
Have a great evening. Thanks for signing on, folks.